Ja, hallo liebe Leute, willkommen wieder hier auf meinem Kanal und mit ein bisschen Aufnahme-Ärger-Probleme. Ich hoffe, es passt so. Ich werde aber, glaube ich, doch nochmal hier reingehen in den Einstellungen und zwar die Audio nochmal kurz runterdrehen von der Musik. So. Es ist nämlich doch ein bisschen lauter, als ich dachte. Ja, gut. Also, genau, wir waren jetzt hier, wir hatten das abgehört, theoretisch müsste das jetzt genommen haben. Wir schauen mal. Und außerhalb von New Orleans, und da haben wir es, genau. Voodoo Morde-Fall. Sehr schön.
Hey, Mostly.
Huh? Knight, you wiener, I told you not to call me that.
Feeling jumpy?
Who, me? Don't be stupid. How'd you find me?
Oh, I was just driving by.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess I can let you see it. For the book. But don't tell anyone, huh? Definitely another voodoo murder. Same MO and no freaking clues. We're still waiting on an ID for the body.
Oh, that's disgusting. Isn't this a rather public area for this kind of thing?
Yeah, they're freaking ghosts, these guys. Lakeshore Drive isn't exactly the 10 expressway, but it is open to the public. No reports and nothing. Now, who the hell is that?
Es ist krass.
Good day, Miss Getty.
What's going on, officer?
Detective Mosley, ma'am. We got a little problem here, but nothing for you to be concerned about.
I see. Thank you, detective. And good day, gentlemen.
I'm in love.
Forget it. That's Molly at Getty. She's about as far out of your reach as the moon. Probably on her way to meet some guy with a yacht right now.
Near here?
The lake's a popular place for country clubs.
If she's out here a lot, maybe she saw something or heard something.
Nah, nobody ever sees or hears nothing. I told you. Besides, you just don't go around bothering people like her.
We've about wrapped it up, sir.
Well, let's get the meat wagon moving then. Stick around and take notes for the book if you want. Watch out for the muck and the water moccasins, though. If you want to talk, I'll be at the station tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay. Jo, also wir haben schon den nächsten Hinweis, sag ich mal, mit dem Yachtclub, dass wir da dann mal schauen, ob wir was bei ihr rausfinden können. Ja, können wir hier draufdrücken? Ich bin mir gerade unschlüssig.
Lakeshore Drive runs around the entire lake. This is a particularly lonely stretch, but it's still a public road. Lakeshore Drive runs around the entire lake. This is a particularly lonely stretch, but it's still a public road.
Ja, das ist also praktisch Straße und Polizeisperre ist dasselbe, okay. Hans.
Gabriel is on the sand and clay shores of Lake Pontchartrain, at a site where some poor bastard got to see who the voodoo murderers really are.
Gucken wir erstmal hier hin.
Lake Pontchartrain is impressive. It measures 24 miles across and stretches as far as the eye can see.
So. Ton, Markierung, Rotspuren.
There's a pattern to the lines in the sand, but only one small area is clearly defined.
Ja, wir haben ja das Notizbuch. Wahrscheinlich können wir da was machen.
Gabriel can't take the lines without some help.
irgendwie sollen wir...
That doesn't work, Dad.
Ja, dachte ich mal. Dann war das Skizzenbuch, ne?
Let me try to copy this down. That's a lot of blood. Oh, I've got no way to take that with me, and I don't want to.
Dann haben wir auch noch mal...
Gabriel is on the sand and clay shores of Lake Ponch. That doesn't seem to...
Looks like there was something here. I should take a closer look.
Was?
Something small and iridescent is barely visible in the sand.
I can't even see what I'm trying to pick up. I need a better look.
Warte mal.
It looks like a scale of some sort.
Und jetzt mit der Pinzette.
The tweezers from... Gabriel carefully uses the tweezers to take the small, iridescent scale.
I think it's a snake scale, but it beats the hell out of me what kind.
Haben wir ja hinten noch den.
The banks of Lake Pontchartrain are rich with clay deposits.
I'll take some of this clay with me.
Ja, ich glaube, mehr gibt es auch nicht, was man noch machen könnte. Also zumindest wüsste ich jetzt nichts weiter. So, das ist ja das 4. Genau, mehr haben wir hier eigentlich nicht. Okay.
The Dixieland drugstore is posted on the...
Schlossen. Ich keine Maus mehr. Ah, da ist sie wieder. Wir können ja gucken, mal beim Polizeirevier irgendwas finden. Also ob es da irgendwelche Infos noch für uns gibt.
Can I bother you again, officer?
What is it this time?
What can you tell me about snakes?
What does this look like? A zoo? Never mind, don't answer that. No, I don't know nothing about no snakes.
I'm here to see Detective Mosley.
He left for the day. Sorry.
Ja, da gibt's nichts mehr für uns zu tun. Ja, okay. Ich wüsste jetzt auch nicht, für was die Karten tragen. Ich würde sagen, wir müssen...
I knew you'd miss me, so I came back.
Really? I forgot you were gone.
Ja, ich würde noch mal mit ihr reden.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Okay.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Doing a family tree, Gabriel?
Very funny. I mean real snakes, you know, scaly, cold-blooded. I would have thought you'd find them empathetic.
Mm-hmm. I know very little about reptiles of any kind, and prefer to keep it that way. I think there's a book on snakes around here somewhere, though.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Could you do some research for me?
Sure, what?
Could you see what you can find out about a woman named Malia Getty?
The name Getty sounds familiar. What's your interest in her?
Oh, just, you know, stuff about the Voodoo Murders. If you can get an address.
The murders, right. I'll see what I can find out. Well, it's about closing time.
So it is. Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gabriel. And try not to dream, okay?
Okay, wir können also nicht nochmal nach so einem Buch schauen mit den Schlangen. Das hätten wir anders regeln müssen. Na gut, mein Fehler, mein Fehler. Da habe ich jetzt nicht so drauf geachtet. Da ist der Tag ganz rum wahrscheinlich. Okay. Am nächsten Morgen. Eine Maske versteckte mich. Ich war, was ich nicht bin. Ist doch noch unbekannt. Eine Lösung gibt's für einen Preis. Okay.
Good morning. Don't you look swell today? Actually, swollen. So have some. There's a fresh pot on the table. Seriously, you look like hell. Your hair is sticking straight up like a... Oh, it always does that. Never mind.
Ha ha.
Did you dream about the fire and the hanged guy and that lion thing last night?
Leopard, not lion. Did you get anything on Malia Getty?
Well, I did get her address, but you're a little out of your league here, big fella. The Gettys own 3 local hospitals, just to name a few of their assets. They run in very high circles.
Did you get an address?
I got the address. I suppose this has nothing to do with the fact that Malia Getty is incredibly gorgeous. I should have known you wouldn't go for a rich, ugly socialite.
And that address is?
Hey, far be it from me to postpone your total humiliation. It's 557 West Ingram. That's the Garden District. Estate City.
That's all I wanted to know. And yes, my dear, Malia Getty is the most dangerous-looking diversion I have ever seen. Ouch.
Ugh, men.
Ach, Gabriel.
It's a book about the world of snakes.
Ja, das hatten wir uns ja eigentlich schon angeguckt, ne?
Gabriel leaves through a German-English dictionary.
Reise means a journey.
Hilft mir also in dem Fall nicht weiter.
Today's newspaper is on the counter. Times dated June 19th, 1993. A front-page article describes the most recent of the Voodoo murders. Gabriel scans it but learns nothing new. The article reiterates that the voodoo aspect of the crime is faked. Gabriel shivers. It looked real enough to him. Elsewhere, there's an article about the history of Jackson Square, called the Plaza d'Armes under French rule. It was used for executions, firing squads, hangings, even impalements and breaking on the wheel. Yikes! Of course, these days, it's mostly a hangout for tourists, street musicians, and local artists. Gabriel also scans the Aquarius horoscope for the day. Chances of a dark star rising on this day. Do not trust your instincts.
I feel a dark star rising, all right. Rawr.
Oh mein Gott. Ja, ich würde sagen, wir reden mal mit dir.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Machen wir also nichts Neues.
That doesn't work.
Ich weiß nicht, ob wir hier noch irgendwas zum Anschauen oder so. Ja, Telefonnummer habe ich ja nicht. Ja, dann würde ich sagen, geh mal raus.
I'm going out.
Don't hurry back on my account.
Du musst wahrscheinlich da heute sehen.
Welcome, my friend. Hello. I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
Ja, okay. Dann schauen wir uns mal um.
A street drummer has settled outside the museum. Gabriel can't do anything with the drummer on the street. There's a beaten-up old fan in the window. It's silent at the moment. The fan might operate, but not in that way. The fan is entrenched in the window frame. Handsome, isn't he?
Dieser da.
It's an electrical switch.
What does this do?
Turn that thing off.
Oh, sorry.
We have air conditioning, you see.
Yeah, I see.
Und die Schlange ist hinten durchgedreht. Sehr interessant.
A leather whip hangs from a peg on the wall.
Oh, hurt me.
The voodoo shrine is filled with items that both fascinate Gabriel and also make his skin crawl.
They lend a certain psychotic ambiance, no? Will that look sacrilegious? Magenta moonbeam. Voodoo Inn.
A flyer advertising Magenta Moonbeam, a local voodoo inn. Her parlor is on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine.
Wonder who that poor bastard was. It wouldn't be much of a voodoo museum without a voodoo doll. A waste of some perfectly good wine, if you ask me. This coffin is so small.
Gabriel can't see a way to use.
Reminds me of a book critic for the New York Times. Looks like Jack Nicholson.
Flickering candles lend an appropriately spooky atmosphere to the museum. Something about the shape of that knife gives Gabriel the creeps.
Yeah, right. I'd probably cut my own head off with that thing.
Gabriel doesn't want anything to do with that knife. That must be Marie Laveau. An authentic-looking pole marks the center of the room. Authentic what? Gabriel isn't sure. Gabriel doesn't recognize the museum's flags. The back wall displays various offerings of fruits to the voodoo deities. Even if that were for sale, Gabriel couldn't afford it. The pole is solidly connected to the floor. An official voodoo wishing stump. Rub it and make a wish, a card says.
Funny, I say the same thing to women.
Nein, oh, bitte.
I wish Malia Getty were mine forever. Really, I mean it.
What was that?
Huh? Nothing.
Large, elaborate drums occupy a corner of the museum.
Please, do not touch the drums. They are authentic.
Authentic what?
Drums. Do not touch them.
A beaded gourd is on display. A very large, very formidable-looking snake is secured in a plexiglass cage.
The python is quite dangerous. I would stay back if I were you.
Thanks for the advice.
The snake is too far away. Dr. John is a huge man. If his manner weren't so pleasant, he'd be intimidating. Given the man's size, that doesn't seem advisable.
Could I ask you a few questions?
That is why I am here.
Okay, dann fragen wir mal.
So how's the museum business?
Those who truly seek to understand are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Sounds about like my shop. So where do you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Do you ever get any wackos in here?
You mean, besides yourself?
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kinds of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
You're a big guy, aren't you? You work out, play sports?
I do not play basketball, if that is what you want to know.
Who, me? No, you just look like such a natural athlete.
I do find ways of keeping fit, Mr. Knight. After all, our bodies are temples.
You sound like Grace. I should get the two of you together.
Is Grace your wife?
No, she just acts like it. So what do you think of our summer weather? Have you ever seen it so overcast or so muggy?
It is unpleasant. The heavens are not pleased these days.
Nice outfit.
I prefer simple cotton to dead flesh, Mr. Knight.
I'll have to remember that. This is quite a place you have here.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have dedicated myself to the preservation of this unique culture. It is gratifying to see others reap the fruits I have sown.
Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Just tell me anything.
I am a vegetarian.
Really? I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am not an easy person to get to know. I am a very private man.
Isn't that unusual for someone in the museum business?
Not at all. My displays speak for me.
Just tell me anything.
Not everyone can come see the museum, so I occasionally do public speaking on the subject of historical voodoo.
Anything coming up that I might attend?
No. But then you have me all to yourself right now, do you not?
Das stimmt.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us just say I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No. The museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then let us discuss something else.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah. You have perhaps noticed the museum snake, Mr. Knight? They are beautiful creatures. Do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States, as far as I am concerned.
What do you know about the Voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper. I know they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
Okay.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo, or the voodoo currently practiced in the city.
Fangen wir an mit den historischen.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion, formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade. But African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importings of slaves from that region.
Okay.
So how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian Revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. an ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons, and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances, right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in the religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I personally am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo, but it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
What exactly is hoodoo?
Hoodoo refers to magic folk traditions of the South. Hoodoo is a bastard of voodoo. Many of the gree-gree are similar, but hoodoo does not have the religious aspects of voodoo.
Tell me about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaux, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique. The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Ja, haben wir doch was rausgefunden. Genau, liebe Leute. Und ich würde sagen, dann machen wir auch hier bei dieser Folge Cut. Und im nächsten Teil gehen wir dann, ich glaube, muss ich überlegen, zu den einen Laden, Dixie's Dort, wie das hieß. Da müssen wir doch mal gucken. Ja, wenn es euch gefallen hat, lasst mir gerne einen Daumen hoch da. Gerne könnt ihr in den Kommentaren schreiben, ob euch die Geschichte von Voodoo überhaupt interessiert. Ich muss sagen, ich finde es schon spannend. Auf jeden Fall. Aber es ist eine schwere Kost, würde ich mal sagen. Ne? Ja, und über ein Abo würde ich mich natürlich auch sehr freuen. Und damit wünsche ich euch noch einen wunderschönen Tag. Lasst es euch gut gehen und bis bald.